Hello, everypony. I just wanted to do. I don't know if I'm gonna make this a video or audio only, but I wanted to do a review of Mare Fair. I never reviewed a convention before, but the first time for everything. So, let's start with the dislikes because I have less of those. So, I'm gonna start with those. I think my number one problem with the convention was that the water situation was very, very low. Like, this is a convention held in Florida for the first time in several years, so I was expecting a bit more preparation for that, like water being around and everything like that. I was kind of hoping that there would be a bunch of water fountains or whatnot. There really wasn't. The ones by the women's restroom in the convention center were not functional all weekend, and I feel like with a lot of people not used to Florida heat and humidity, especially people from like the East Coast, the upper Northeast Coast, I feel like that was definitely an issue that could have been easily fixed by simply turning the water fountain on. I don't know exactly the logistics of it, or why it was off. And there definitely should have been a big fan or free water bottles during the concert on Saturday night. There was a lot of people in that room dancing and people that were sitting, and I feel like there was a lot of people who could have possibly gotten dehydrated in there. um I feel like that's something that definitely needs to be fixed at the next mayor fair. I already suggested this to one of the main runners, but suggested just having either water bottles or one of those gallon water things with some cups and maybe one of those little crates of ice, just so people in there have less chance of getting extremely dehydrated or passing out or anything like that. So those are my biggest worries and annoyances of Mayor Fair. My second one is the line situation. Now, this is kind of a minor complaint because I don't think the runners were expecting over 500 people to be there. They were expecting about 200 to 300 from what I remember. So this is something I think is definitely going to be improved. I was confused at some points about where the line for the sponsors and the line for the regular people were. Um, I was a staff member, which I can say I wasn't signed on NDA or anything like that, and I showed it off on my vlog. And even I was confused. Um, I was under the assumption that staff people got like basic supporter level for their time spent, but that was not the case, which I guess that could be considered an issue. I guess it really matters on what you're doing. But for the regular people, I saw a couple people that were confused about the lines for the sponsor and everything, and the only person to ask was an extremely stressed out European man running around wrangling the entire line. So I feel like next year there needs to be um like a small banner or a small signage of some sort, or even just something taped to the wall for sponsor lines would be a lot easier to see. And let me think, what other complaints I had? Those are my main two. The other ones that I really have, like people being rude or line cutters or whatnot, aren't really applicable. Like the humidity, that's not really the fault of the convention, so I can't really say those. But super good positives that I have now were the charity auction was incredible. It was definitely the best part of the entire event in my opinion. The charity that was chosen was great. Um if they'd pick another charity, I definitely think that Kim should be an auctioneer on the stage for the next Mayor Fair and just be the only special guest. I honestly think that having her as the main special guest is fitting, rather than paying off some celebrities that don't care about ponies anymore. So I think that was really well done. The Tandy dinner was pretty well done. I was the door person for that, and they kindly let me in when they closed the doors inside, which was very nice of them. The chicken, I will say, was a bit, eh. I didn't get to try any of the spaghetti, so I cannot comment on that. But the attendees were kind of but the vibes in the bar in there were very nice, very chill. Hung out there. I hung out there longer than I expected. I mean, I was scheduled there, but I ended up just staying way after and just kind of hanging out, even a point of helping clean up. So I hope they do another one. I'll gladly be the um doorman again. I don't mind. Um, Circling back to events, I did have one complaint when it was I don't get why there was two rarity panels. I feel like they could have probably merged. There's a guy ran a Trixie panel. I'm not speaking out of bias. I'm just saying I got a comment on one of my vlogs saying that their panel was like rejected, but it was kind of weird that two rarity panels were allowed to be there, and I don't know, it just felt a little weird. I feel like that time slot could have been used for something a bit more unique. I mean, yeah, appreciation panels can be different in their own ways, but I just think having two of the same character like one day apart, it seems a little bit kind of weird. And if I did have to add another complaint, I would say extend Sunday's events by a little, by another hour or two. Um, Especially that the charity auction and the closing ceremonies happened basically at the same time. I think it might have been maybe a bit cooler to have either another room for panels or go on till maybe like 6 p.m. or something for events. I get not everybody wants to stay there or everything, or the AV wants to keep running till that time, but just a suggestion. Sunday felt kind of empty. There was really only like 4 panels, and then 3.5 hour long charity slash closing. I felt like the pacing of Sunday could have been a bit better. Um, So one of the things I really liked was the vendor hall. The vendor hall was very good, like very good for a first time convention. Like the amount of quality products and handmade stuff that they had, and not oh, it was only one booth that had a bunch of furry stuff. I guess that's kind of my main complaint about the vendor hall, but they had some very good stuff for a first year convention. I will commend Stephen Winter on that one. He did a very good job on that one. Um, a lot of the events were really good. I felt like some of the lines for them were a bit extreme, but that's nothing really in control of the convention itself, just more the attendees wanting to see it. Um, I could say something about the quality of all the panels, but anybody can put in a thing for panels, so that's really up to the people running the panels. I think there was a couple that might have dragged on a bit too long, like the wet brain one I think was a little overly long. I think the watching paint dry one was a bit over, like under length. I feel like that one should have been longer, and I feel like they should have actually had real paint. But I guess I could see how that could be a liability. But oh my God, sorry about that. I had some very rude noise outside. But um, yeah, I feel like Mare Fair as a whole was pretty good. I really love the location of it. I never thought I'd say that about Florida, but I've never been to a convention that's had so much to do so close. Like the Wawa, the Walgreens liquor store, the Epic McDonald's with the arcade and Mac Tonight. So many like things to do on the Thursday and the Monday if you stayed longer. And there's a bus that's really cheap that takes you around the whole area. Like honestly, God tier location. I will say it's probably the best location I've ever been to. Sure beats Baltimore and TrotCon and Dayton and Columbus. And hell, even Cider Fest. Honestly, I'd say Cider Fest was probably my number two. Um, Up until this convention, the location is great. I hope it's in the same place. I will say that the outside of the hotel being like in separate buildings and stuff, they get a little confusing at first, but I quickly adapted to it. And I do like how unique that was compared to other conventions. The closest one I could think of was probably BronyCon, but uh, Mare Fair is definitely more unique than BronyCon in terms of attendees and space and vendors. I'll still always love BronyCon. I mean, it's always gonna be like my favorite con of all time. Just the size of it, the panels, everything like that. That's a talk for a different video. But you know, I think overall, with a lot of room parties and the event board and the stage where anybody can just sit down and do a bunch of stuff, like all the drawing and everything. I feel like this was a very, very well done first event. Again, I really only had a couple issues with it, and I think it was done very well for a first year convention, and I definitely believe another one's going to happen. It just might be a year or two. Honestly, I genuinely think Mayfair would be better as an every other year convention. Then we can build up the hype and the leads, and then you can save up money. Not the actual venue itself, but the people in the venue department can save up money, do some funding beforehand. I would say would be a good idea. I think I think Mayfair would be great as an every other year convention. Personally, I think doing it every year would kind of, I don't know, it could have a chance of more like naysayers or people who aren't really in this side of the fandom kind of coming in a little bit. I think having it every other year is a good filter. But if they do it every year, I'll still try to go to it. Um, yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say about it. The rest was kind of said in the vlog and the interview video. I don't think I am gonna edit this thing. I'm just gonna kind of leave these pictures laying on top of each other because I'm really lazy. But yeah, overall, I'm gonna give this first Mare Fair. I'm gonna give it about a 8 out of 10. I'm not gonna be like people in my vlog who said 11 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 or 9 out of 10. There was some issues. Um, there was also a couple like issues that kind of just sprung up sometimes when I was on the staffing, but that's for another time, I suppose. Nothing really crazy though, so don't think something crazy happened. Not really, just a couple people being late and whatnot. Was those were really minor instances. But yeah, I'm gonna give this convention 8 out of 10. I would volunteer for them again. Definitely would go again. And yeah, I definitely love Mare Fair, so come to it next time.